Hi everyone and welcome to Season 2, Episode 7 of Reputation Rebuild at Aberdeen with me, the United City FM. Welcome along. So we're reaching the end of the first part of our season. Soon enough the season is going to split the league into two sections and we'll continue to play the top half for another few games afterwards. But for today we're playing the second game in a back-to-back Celtic matchup. And in the first game just played, we drew 2-2. So that's not a bad result, really, all things considered. Can we go one better than that today? Let's find out. Welcome back to Aberdeen. So yeah, things are going pretty good. If we go and have a look at the league table just before we check out the most recent results, you'll see that we are sitting in third very comfortably. Everybody's played all of their games in catch-up now. You remember for most of the last few months of the season, we've had a few games in hand over some, and some have had a few games in hand over us, etc. And now that's all pretty much balanced out. And you can see that that gap up to second and first between Celtic and Rangers for us has become a little bit bigger. There's now an 11-point gap between us and Celtic and a 15-point gap between us and Rangers. Now, considering last season, as I keep saying, we were about 30-something points behind at the end of the season. It's better than it was, but we are still some way off getting to them, really. But the positive for this season, we set out at the very beginning of this campaign to try and secure third place with no major problems and dominate as many of the teams below us as we could and just see how close we could get to Rangers and Celtic. And we've kind of done that, really. We've got a 14-point gap between us and Hibs, who are in fourth position just below us. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with how it goes. We've still got a few more games to go. Let's go and check in with the most recent fixtures as we come to an end of our first half of the season, as I say. And you can see that it's been pretty good. We've had a few wins in there. A couple of those in the Euro Cup 2, though, against Lech. We've now got a quarter-final coming up against Roma. You can see that Roma are in there for our quarter-final. I think, other than Roma, I think we've got a reasonable chance. I think Roma are going to be very difficult. It could be, one step too far for us, possibly. But other than that, I think we've got a reasonable shout at possibly going further into competition and maybe getting to a final. We'll have to see. But that's coming up in the latter part of the season, just as the Scottish Premiership splits. We've got another game today against Celtic. We've got one more against Dunfermline. And then, if we go and have a look at the table itself, you'll see that the top half, the top six, then split off and play another 5 matches against the others in that top 6. So what we're going to do from now till the end of the season is that we're going to play Celtic today. Then we'll either come back and possibly play either Rangers or Celtic in this last 5 matches that are going to be added on, or we might play the Roma second leg or something like that in next episode. One of those things is going to happen next episode, so we'll have to figure that out when the fixture list gets updated. But for today, Celtic, Liam Delap scored twice in the game against them, just gone. It was only a couple of days ago in game terms. So, yeah, back-to-back games against Celtic, both away from home. So tricky. So, of course, I've probably chosen the wrong one to show you, having got a decent 2-2 draw. Let's see how we get on today. So we've quite a long run of fixtures that a lot of these players have been playing regularly, and we've now got to the point, should I say, where I've had to rest a few players. Fortunately, unfortunately, we'll find out at the end of the game, but we are not quite at full strength today. So, for example, Middleton and Ferguson and Hernandez have all come out of the squad today just because they've either got a fitness issue or, for somebody like Ferguson, he's just dipping below his conditioning, and I want him for those last 5 games so we can continue to gain momentum for the rest of the season. So they're going to have to rest today. I know it's against Celtic. I know it's a big game, but sometimes you just have to do that, don't you? So also on the bench, I've dropped Nisbet down because Delap is in good form, so that's a positive in itself. And we've also dropped McCrory out of the starting lineup just because, again, his conditioning isn't particularly fantastic. The only one that we're taking a little bit of a gamble on is Demir at left fullback today, just because I think the defence needs to be as secure as possible, just because we've got those issues with some of the players coming out of the starting lineup. So all of that means that for today's match against Celtic in the Scottish Premiership, we have Lewis in goal, Ramsey at right back, Demir at left back, Simpson and Finlay in central defence, Goss, McGeoch and Vertinen in central midfield, Hedges on the right, Ross on the left and Delap up top, with a bench of Devlin, Logan, McCrory, Campbell, McLennan, Kennedy and Nisbet. So let's get into today's game and see what happens. So, after quite a lot of consideration, to be honest, I've gone with a team talk of we're underdogs, that suits us, so let's go and cause an upset. I do have to acknowledge that Celtic are just at the moment are slightly ahead of where we would want to be, that we are, should I say. So, there's no point in saying that we're definitely going to win and it's going to be this, that or the other. Got to be a bit realistic occasionally, so hopefully that will free them up with not so much pressure on them to go and express themselves and see what they can do. And just as long as we compete well, like we did in the previous game where we got a 2-2 draw, bit of quality from Delap helped us out there. Can we get that again today? But that's kind of all I'm asking for, really, is to be able to compete. We had a chance then to get rid of the ball in a defensive unit. We didn't quite take it, and it came back at us, and they got another chance, didn't they? But yeah, a little bit shaky at the back. You can see that already the match stats suggest that Celtic are having the more dominant attempts at goal. We've yet to register one, but can we do so here? Let's try and make no mistakes and pass the ball well. We get a very, very lucky twice in that particular section of the build-up, and I think Delap is offside. Yeah, he was. He went too early. Good ball from Ross, but it was just that little bit too early on the movement from Delap by a bit, quite a way, really. It was closer than I thought it was, but even so, he still absolutely was offside, and that's the right decision. So that's unfortunate. And now we get a corner kick for Celtic. And they have a really good attempt, but we do clear it off the line and then boot it clear. And then eventually it does settle back to the goalkeeper. And we can breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief on that one. Still yet to really register a shot at goal, unfortunately for ourselves. And Celtic again had a chance from the corner kick that went over the top. They are pushing, but so far we're holding out just about. Whilst we're watching the game, just let me remind you that I'm now on Twitch 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. UK time. If you go to twitch.tv/the United City FM, you'll find me there. As I say, couple of hours every afternoon, 3 o'clock till 5 o'clock. Come and find me. Come and join the chat. It's been good so far. Got rid of some technical issues and everything seems to be running fairly smoothly now, so it's all good. So yeah, come and join me there. Celtic again with a chance and again with a header that goes over the top. This time next week, normally in this spot we have my FM21 top 3 series, but that's going on a break just for a few weeks because this time next week we're going to be starting a Euros save, and I'll tell you more about that next Friday when we start that up. So keep an eye out for that as the Euros get started. I'm really excited for the Euros. Some good international football coming up, I hope. But yeah, we're going to run a series of that on the channel, so watch out for that. But for today, Aberdeen, one strike at goal, should I say, 1 on target, but 13-4 for Celtic. So you can see that they have been very, very dominant. If not in possession, though, we have shaved the possession a little bit, and we were quite close to that offside goal. So overall, it's kind of a mixed bag, isn't it, really? I would absolutely like more attempts at goal, but we can't be unrealistic, and we're playing Celtic, and they're fairly decent, aren't they, really? Let's face it, in this particular league. We've been the better side here. We have not. Why on earth is the assistant suggesting that? I mean, we've been all right, but there's no way you can claim that we were the better side when they've had so many chances. Let's go with unlucky so far. I think that's fairly non-confrontational and supportive of them. And it remains that they're focused and composed, and that's the sort of response I wanted. So I think that's the right sort of team talk to give. Let's just go into the mentality. Do we want to drop it back to balanced? I know that's counterintuitive when we're not getting many strikes at goal, but they're going to come at us again in the second half. I think I'm going to start balanced for the second half and just see if we can hold the ball a little bit. What's our passing? Yeah, that's about right. Maybe lower the tempo, see if we can keep the ball a little bit and maybe get a little bit more width in there. Those are the sort of things that I want to change just at the moment, and we'll see whether that enables us to do anything early in the second half. So I'm not going to fire them up, but I am going to encourage them, I think, just at this point, and see whether we can get a positive response from that as we move through the first few minutes of the second half. And so far, it's been quiet after 10 minutes of the second half, so that's no bad thing, is it, really, against the likes of Rangers and Celtic. Let's see if we can produce a highlight, though. We've had a couple of shots at goal, 2 on target, so when we're getting through, we're getting them on goal. We're just not getting through often enough and not quite making them count. But here's a chance to build up another attack. We've gone too early down that right-hand side, and Celtic win the ball back very comfortably. We'll have to see what danger that creates for us. And that was close, wasn't it? It got right the way through on goal, 1-on-1 with the goalkeeper. Beat the goalkeeper, but put it very narrowly wide. And again, they come down this left-hand side. We've got to remain really strong here, and we haven't. And it's disallowed from an offside decision. That was a close one, I would suggest. But they are beginning to push, aren't they? You can feel that coming. That is as close as it gets, I would suggest, in terms of an offside decision. Unfortunately, it went for us rather than against us. 73 minutes in, we're going to make a couple of changes. How brave do we feel? Do we change back to a more positive mentality? Maybe. Let's just check out the personnel to start with. Ramsey on that right-hand side, replacing Hernandez, who is slightly below par in his conditioning at the moment. He's not having a good game, but don't really... Do I want to change a right back at this point? I possibly should. Then we've also got Hedges on the right. He can come out. McLennan can come in down that right-hand side. And Delap not having a good day today, having scored twice in the last game against them. We're going to bring Nisbet back into the side and maybe he can get something. And we are going to have to replace that right fullback. It's not good enough. So the old hands of, the old legs, should I say, of Shay Logan at 34 comes in for possibly one of his last appearances for us. He's not going to last another summer transfer window. So maybe this will be his swan song for Aberdeen, possibly. And I think we will just go back into the positive and just see what we can do in the last few minutes of the game. And then we'll go back in and we will, on this occasion now, demand more from the side just as we're finishing up the match, just to keep them focused, really. If I can come away with a 0-0 draw, it's not a terrible result. 2 draws against Celtic back-to-back, but we might have spoken too early because they do have a highlight. And the amount of attempts that they've had, you'd imagine that they'd get one eventually if we continue to let them. And that was a pretty decent strike from quite a way out. But again, it goes narrowly wide and they're not putting their chances away so far. And that's been the real problem for Celtic. Their XG rating of 2.05 suggests they should score a goal. But so far they haven't. And there's another looping header that goes wide again. And again, they missed the target. And that has been the story of the game all the way through. I'm fairly pleased with that result in a lot of ways. I mean, we were absolutely pasted by them in attempts at goal. They had 26 shots at goal, but only 11 on target, and they didn't make any of them count. And we had 5 shots on goal, 4 on target. So the percentage of on target is exceptionally good. I'd have just liked a couple more. And you can see by the XG rating for us, 0.27, all of those 4 shots on target were not particularly good opportunities, it seems. Possession was strong. Passing completion was strong. We almost got a goal from Delap. We almost let several in. And we come away with a 0-0 draw. Not too shabby. So there is the chance to have a look at the table briefly. We've gained another point on the teams below us. So we've got a 15-point gap after 32 matches. Rangers look like they've got the Premiership all for theirs to lose now, isn't it really? 3-point gap over Celtic, but a game in hand for Rangers. So it looks like it's going to Rangers this season, but anything can still happen. We still have a few more games to play. As I say, it gets split off again in a little while, and there's some added fixtures put in at the end of this season. So there's still a couple more episodes probably to play through, depending on how we do in the Euro Cup. But certainly next episode, we'll either be back for that second leg against Roma, or we'll be back against either Celtic or Rangers in this last few games that are going to get added on into the Scottish Premiership. So one or other of those things I would imagine would happen, and then we'll see what happens after that in terms of whether we go further in the Euro Cup 2 competition to see whether we play any more games there. But yeah, all in all, I'm still really happy with how this season has gone. I still think there's a lot of improvement that we can do, but it's going to take another summer transfer window, maybe just to tweak a few, get a few older players out of the squad. We've got a couple of 34, 35-year-olds that we need to move on now and get some younger guys in with a little bit more about them. If we can do that in the summer, who knows? Maybe we can squeeze in and maybe separate Rangers and Celtic next season. That's the kind of hope. I don't know whether we're going to actually be able to win the Premiership in the 3 seasons that we gave ourselves. But if I could separate them in that final third season, I'd be relatively happy with that, I think. Anyway, that's going to do it for today. Don't forget to come and find me on Twitch. Don't forget to go and check out all the links in the description below to things like my Patreon, my Twitter account, my Discord. All of the good stuff is down there. Thank you for joining me today. I really appreciate it. I hope you have a fantastic weekend as I'm recording this on the Friday, and you're hopefully viewing this on the Friday evening or early Saturday. So I hope you have a great weekend. I'll be back on Monday with more stuff. Until then, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and join my United City community. The more the merrier. Click that like button on this particular episode. That'll help me get seen by lots more people. Until next time though, take care of yourselves. I'll see you very soon. Bye for now.